Hello friends, today we will discuss about the concept of reference group, and it is also mentioned in UPSC syllabus. So first of all, we understand what is a group. Group is a network of relationship. For example, as a student, we belong to a group of other students and our behavior is being shaped by pattern expectations of the groups of students. This is what stabilizes our identity as a student. Similarly, family is an important primary group that shapes our behavior and expectation in the form of series of relationship with our parents, sibling and other members. Now, what is reference group? A reference group is one to which we always refer in order to evaluate our achievements, our performance, aspirations and ambitions. It is the reference group that tells us why others are more powerful and prestigious than us. Thus, in order to evaluate our conditions, achievements and performance, we refer to a reference group, of which we may be a member, that means membership reference group, and or not non-membership reference group. For example, I am a student and remain burdened with my course materials and examinations. I am really working hard and I have no time to relax. Then I come to know about an altogether different group, say a group of cricketers who are young as I am, and I see that these cricketers play cricket, go abroad, enjoy life, earn money and media highlight them. The success story of the group of cricketers will fascinate me more. By comparing with myself with them, I will feel that as a student I am deprived. So here comes the concept of relative deprivation. The cricketers then being to act like my reference group, and that type of reference group is here non-membership group, because I am from student community membership group, but I am aspired to be a cricketer, that means another group. As a result, I will begin to give more time to cricket than my course materials, with hope that one day I would become a cricketer and lead that kind of life. Thus, members group and non-membership group both work like reference group. Now see, let us see what is concept of relative deprivation. Here it has come. The concept of relative deprivation was originally developed by Samuel Stauffer and his colleague in their work The American Soldier, in which they conducted studies on American soldiers during World War II. They found that American soldiers in high status officers were more complaining and very less satisfied with their situation despite their better working conditions and more promising career opportunities than those American soldiers who were in low status unit, foot soldiers and in worse situation at war front, but were of high morale. Merton's concept of relative deprivation was based on his examination of Stauffer's work. Merton combined the two terms, relative deprivation and reference group, and argued that deprivation is relative and relative to reference group. Merton argued that this was because the soldiers in higher status compared their situation with their civilian counterparts who were enjoying comfortable life with family and were economically better position. On the other hand, those soldiers who were in low status units and were in worse situation on war front compared themselves with war heroes and inspired by them. So here it's all about relative reference group. what kind of groups we are inspired for. Now come to the concept of group and group membership. Merton skipped the three characteristics of a group and group membership. Means three characteristics of being part of a group. Frequency of interaction. Members of the group frequently interact with one another. Second, interacting persons define themselves as member. And third, person in interactions are defined by others as belonging to the group. These others include fellow members as well as non-members. Now come to the concept of non-membership. Non-members frequently orient themselves to group other than their own in shaping their behavior and evaluation. According to Merton, non-members can be divided into three categories. First one is aspiring for the membership. Second, indifferent towards affiliation. Third, motivated to remain unaffiliated with group. So here three categories are there of non-members. So let us understand through example. One example, for example, an industrialist owning a factory is naturally a non-member of workers group. There are three possibilities of his orientation toward the workers group. First, he is sensitive to the situation of workers and willing to join the group. This one. Second, he will remain indifferent to the workers' condition. This one. And third, exploiting the workers for personal monetary gain and making their situation more worse. This one is third category. Now comes to the anticipatory socialization. You have to remember this term. Merton speaks of anticipatory socialization in the context of non-membership reference group. It refers to the adopting that values lifestyle of a non-membership reference group. According to Merton, anticipatory socialization may serve the twin function of aiding his rise into that group and of easing his adjustment after he has become part of it. For example, suppose a village boy born in lower middle class household accepts Dune school boys as his reference group. As a process of anticipatory socialization, he begins to emulate the smartness of Dune school boys. Now, if this village boy really succeeds in getting an entry into Dune school, his anticipatory socialization would indeed be functional. It would be easier for him to adjust himself to his new role. If the system, that means group, is very close, then this lower middle class boy would never get an entry into Dune school. In that case, anticipatory socialization would be dysfunctional for him. So here, if this village boy really succeeds in getting an entry into Dune school, so his anticipatory socialization would indeed be functional, and it would be easier for him to adjust himself in his new role. But if that group is non-membership, that means it is if closed, that group is closed, and if he is not able to get into that group, in that case anticipatory socialization would be dysfunctional for him. There are two reasons. First, he would not be able to become a member of the group to which he aspires because of closeness of that group. And secondly, because of anticipatory socializations, imitations of the values of a non-membership group, he would be disliked by the members of his own group. as Merton say he would be reduced to being a marginal man. That is why, says Merton, anticipatory socialization is functional for individual only within a relatively open social structure, that means open society, and providing where mobility is high, and it would be very dysfunctional in a relatively closed social structure. Now, Merton also argued that in a closed system, the individual is unlikely to choose a non-membership group as reference group. That is why in a closed system, closed society, where the rights, prerequisites and obligations of each group, for example, caste group in India, are generally held to be morally right. An individual, even if his objective conditions are not good, would feel less deprived. But in an open society like industrial society, in which the individual always compare his lot with relatively better off and the more privileged non-membership reference group, he remains perpetually unhappy and discontented. Now comes to positive and negative reference group. Positive reference group, it is the one which one likes and takes seriously in order to shape one's behavior and evaluate one's achievements and performance. Negative reference group, which one dislikes and rejects and which, instead of providing norms to follow, provokes one to create counter norms. Now let us see determinants of reference group. Merton skips of innumerable possibilities the way men choose reference individuals, membership groups and non-membership groups. Now reference individuals. People select not only reference groups but select reference individual also. This is because individuals with their charisma, status, glamour often attract people. For example, cricketers as a group may not have much appeal to us, but Sachin Tendulkar as an individual may do. Thus, in spite of the fact that cricketers as such do not constitute our reference group, Sachin Tendulkar may however become a reference individual. The selection of reference groups among membership groups. We belong to innumerable groups, right from our own family to a neighborhood club, to a caste group, to a political party, to a religious organization. But not all membership groups are equally important. Only some of them are selected as a reference group by us. How do we select? Merton evolved a personalized list of 26 group properties. Some major group properties include degree of distinction of the group, degree of engagement that the group encourage or promote among its members, expected duration of the group, its open and closed character, degree of social differentiation and degree of expected conformity to the norms of the group. So these are the some major characteristics. Out of Merton has mentioned 26 such kind of provisional list for membership groups characteristics. Here, for example, our degree of engagement with our family members is much more than say with the members of film club and so it is quite likely that As far as the major decisions of the life are concerned, not the film club but our family is likely to serve as a reference group. Likewise, a membership group which is not going to last for a long, for instance, a class of undergraduate students which is not going to last for more than 4 years, is unlikely to be chosen as a reference group. But instead, a group which is really going to be last, a kinship or a caste group or professional group, does indeed serve as a reference group. Now, selection of non-reference group. According to Merton, there are primarily 3 factors determine the selection of non-membership group. First, capacity of the non-membership group to confer some power and prestige in society. For example, the university teachers in India often compare their lot with IAS officer. In other words, for the university teachers, the IAS officers become a non-membership reference group. The reason is simple. In terms of the institutional structure of modern Indian society, the IAS officers enjoy more power, more prestige than the university teachers do. The non-membership group that doesn't have much power or prestige hardly become a reference group. Second, isolates in a group motivated to adopt the value of non-membership group as normative frame of reference. The isolates, because of their insensitivity or rebelliousness or because of their intense urge for mobility, do not remain contented with the groups to which they belong. As a result, it is more likely that they would be stimulated to adopt the values of non-membership group. For example, Merton speaks of the disenchanted members of elite who adopt the political orientation of a class less powerful than his own. Third, a social system with relatively high rate of social mobility will tend to make far widespread orientations to non-membership groups as reference group. This is because only in an open system people come to know of groups other than their own and feel tempted to alter their position continually, and they have enough freedom to mobilize themselves. Now, let us see variation in reference groups for differing values and norms. Merton argues that it should not be assumed that the same reference group uniformly serves as the reference group for the same individual in every phase of their behavior. For example, we choose the Gandhian as our reference group because we feel that the Gandhians are dedicated to lot and we accept their political economic ideals, but that doesn't mean that we give our consent to everything that the Gandhians do. We may not agree with their conservative attitude towards life, brahmacharya, vegetarianism, etc. Regarding our lifestyle, food habit or sexual morals, we may take the liberals as our reference group. So ultimately the choice of reference group depends on the nature and quality of norms and value one is interested in. Now, selection of reference groups among status categories or subgroups involving sustained interaction. Merton argued that the selection of reference group is complex. There may be divergent opinion on love marriage in our own family. Our parents perhaps dislike it. Our elder brother is ambivalent and our sister gives her consent to it. Under these circumstances, it is quite likely that instead of relying on your own family, you tend to give your consent to what your generation thinks. The way young boys and girls like you think of marriage. This explains a phenomenon called generation gap. So it's all about a reference group. For critical evaluation of this concept of reference group, you can do it by yourself. What we need to do is that we have to keep 4-5 keywords what of the limitations of Mertons, and that 4-5 points we have to apply here with some changes. So it's all about the concept of reference group. So thank you very much.